Hello everybody, so I'm going live here to the Step by Step Listening page, but also to the YouTube channel. So it's Motivational Monday, and today the subject is why I found it so hard to be myself. The reason I'm bringing this subject to you is because I've just noticed for myself personally that I started to do a bit more socializing last week. So I met up with some girlfriends. And I was also invited by my bestie to go out and do some stuff that we used to do before lockdown. And I noticed the old reptilian brain and the mammalian brain was starting to feel a bit unsettled. And it brought back some old feelings and patterns from a long time ago. And I thought I'd just share them with you because I'm sure I'm not on my own. And what I'd love to know from you is please comment and let me know if you relate to what I'm saying, if it makes sense to you, and that you've experienced this feeling yourself before. But basically where I got to in life, this is probably about 8 or 9 years ago now, is I'd be in a certain environment and people would say something and I would maybe ask questions to try and understand. And then they might say things like, oh, stop asking those coaching questions, or stop asking so many questions, or you ask weird questions. So they'd have some comment or observation to make about the way that I was showing up. And that was okay. I got that this person didn't particularly want questions, and that's fine. So I learned to be a bit quieter and just listen. So I watched and I observed. And then people would say things like, what's wrong with you? You've gone quiet. You know, what's the matter? Cat got the tongue or something. And I was like, okay. So I noticed and heard that you didn't want me to ask questions. And now I'm being quiet. And now that's not okay. And then eventually they would say, so then they say, look, speak up, or say something. So then I'd say something, and then the next bit of observation would be, oh, you talk too much, or you make it all about you, or they had some other kind of comment. And it got to the point where I was like, I don't know. Going out and being in groups became more stressful than it was worth. Now, as a facilitator and as a coach, when I'm running big events or I'm running networking events, I am the confident person of the party, but it's because I'm in control, I'm in charge. And I remember years ago listening to about Victoria Wood, and she was saying like she was really, really confident on the stage because you're managing the energy and you're controlling that, and it's all pre-rehearsed, it's all practiced, and you go out and do it in little stages first and get feedback before you go out to the big shows. But actually she didn't have that much confidence when it came to socializing. And I really related to that story for me personally. That was great when I was running things for other people, or I was doing parties, or as long as I was busy being the hostess with the mostess, it was fine. But if I was actually there with no kind of role or purpose and I just had to chat, I found conversation quite difficult. And eventually I would say to people, but you said this and you said that. And then they go, oh, stop over analyzing things. You just take things all too personally. You take things too seriously. And then eventually they would say something like, be yourself. Just be yourself. Good morning, Susie. And the challenge with that is right at the very beginning, when I was asking questions, I was being myself. When I was being quiet, I was being myself. When I was talking loads about me or other things, I was being myself. However, the same people that were saying now I was overanalyzing and telling me that I should just be myself, or I need to be normal. The truth is I was doing all of those things anyway, and it was being corrected. And so the reason I'm bringing this to you is because I discovered that when I went back out to doing some socializing things, that I've realized that one of the challenges or reasons why I was adapting my behavior before is because I wanted to fit in. I wanted not to upset people. I wanted people to be okay with me. And I've had to learn over the last sort of 12 years to, first of all, because I'd got so used to adapting who I was to please other people. Actually, when someone said to me, just be yourself, I'm like, I don't know who she is. I don't know who I am when I'm not trying to make sure the kids are okay, or the business is okay, or the clients are okay. So I went on this journey to discover who I am and what do I actually love when I'm not doing what I have to do. And I've had to really reconnect with that person and who I am. And through the process of systemic modeling and clean language and symbolic modeling, I've discovered, what is happening when I'm working, learning and living at my best. And I've also developed the ability to ask more questions about, what do people mean by what they're saying? What's their inference? What are they making up when they tell me I'm not talking enough, or I'm not talking too much, all that sort of stuff. And some people just do not want to be asked questions. They're quite happy to throw stuff at you and tell you what they think of you and what you should or shouldn't do, but they don't really want you to ask questions to understand where they're coming from or to unpack it. And the reason I'm saying it is because I discovered when I set a goal this year that I was going to work to be more sociable. And of course, lockdown has meant that we haven't had to do that. And what I've realized is I've become quite comfortable, because the only people that I've had to negotiate space with, if you like, is with my husband, my son, and my daughter, who is a key worker. So when she does come, she's only sort of sat two yards out the front house, or now she's in the back garden, but she brings all her own stuff. And we kind of have got to understand what the rules were. And because we know each other and we've had these open conversations, I didn't have to do any of this negotiating with people. Whereas when I went back out, my bestie called me on Saturday and said, we were originally going to meet up and have coffee and sit in our cars, wind our window down and have a chat. And then she realised she needed to go shopping for her daughter's birthday, and asked me if I'd like to, and this is something we do, like every 3 weeks we get together for coffee and we go shopping, right? That's what we do. And I very rarely need anything, so I'm quite happy to go with the flow. We go wherever we want to go, and that absolutely works for us. But this week she asked me if we want to go Fair and Precinct, and it would have meant going into an indoor shopping mall, which I haven't done during the lockdown. And I just noticed myself going into sort of reptilian freeze. Now, in the past, I might have just gone with it, and then I would have spent the whole time out feeling uncomfortable. And what I actually did is said, no, I'm not ready for that yet. And actually, that was a big change for me to speak up and say, actually, that's not going to work for me. I'm clear that if I don't need to go indoors for large lengths of time, then I don't need to go indoors, and there's no point in me doing that. I don't need to increase those risks and chances. But to have the conversation afterwards, because I felt really bad and I felt like I'd really missed out, because I really, really wanted to be with my best friend. And so I had loads of critic stuff going on in my head. And so I'm sharing this with you because if you are struggling with being yourself in a group, I'm imagining that maybe these changes in lockdown, that some people would have felt quite safe being on their own and not having to deal with too many people during the lockdown. But as we come back into normalization, if you like, go back into socializing with people, we're going to have to step into being again in a group and adjusting our behavior, or calibrating what's going on. Add into that we have a pandemic, an epidemic, and everybody interprets the rules differently. So I had an interesting conversation with friends on Thursday evening where I hadn't even heard the update that they were referring to. So they were saying, oh, no, we can do that now. And I was like, I don't know we can do that. So I've had to come back and do my homework and look at what all the rules are, and then make a decision about how I'm going to interpret them so that I'm ready to go out and have those conversations. So I just would love to hear from you today, really. Do you find it difficult to be yourself in a group? Do you find yourself always adapting or tweaking to be with other people? And if you do, then the first thing is to think about modeling. If you were at your best in a group, that would be like what? And that group would be like what? And start to think about what kind of resources or support you might need. And for me, what I've discovered is I need to have these conversations with my friends before I go out, to say to them, like, I'd really like to bring my own cup, really like to bring my own plates. I can even bring my camper van with my own portaloo. So I'm happy to come and see you, but I do not want to come indoors, and I don't want to do those things. I'm not ready for that. Even if the government's saying we can do it yet, I'm personally not ready to do that yet. And I need to have those conversations with them up front, because I don't want my actions to be inferred that I'm saying that they're dirty or they're infectious or that they're doing anything wrong by interpreting the rules the way they're interpreting them. I want to be able to get the rules clear on how we're both interpreting them, and that we can come to an understanding that we've accepted each other's different ways of doing it, and then work out how we can be together even though we have a different interpretation of the rules. So that's what I'm going to be doing. That's what I would, the model I go through with you. And obviously the answer to the questions will be different and unique for each and every person that's watching the videos. So I just put it out there that if you are struggling, we do Listen, Lunch and Learn fortnightly in the Manager Critic group on Facebook. So if you want to come and join the community in Manager Critic, please do come and join us. And we've got Listen Lunch in London. We'll be talking a bit more about that today, because that's what's on my mind, and what everybody else brings to the subject will also be on their mind. But if you are sort of like somebody who's quite sociable and now you've got to get back into these roles, you might find these changes a little bit uncomfortable. And as always, we're here to help you do more of what you love and ditch the critic that says you can't. And sometimes our brain just needs to be settled and put into a good state in order to have those conversations with yourself and other people. And other times you really need to drill down and get real clarity of what you want and confidence in the process you need to go through. And now that I'm aware of that, the next time I go out and I've got another visit with a girlfriend on Tuesday evening, is I've already spoken to her and said, okay, for this to work for me, this is what I need. And it might be that by the time I get there, just because we've had the conversation, I'll be more comfortable, more relaxed, and we'll get more and more relaxed with things. But I imagine I'm not on my own when it comes to these changes. It'll be reassuring actually to hear from anybody to know that I'm not on my own. And if you found this video useful, obviously if it's on the video on the YouTube, please subscribe to the channel, because we do Motivational Monday every Monday at 9 o'clock. And on the Step by Step listening page, please comment and share and like with your friends if you found today's useful. Lots of love. Have a fantastic week. See you again next Monday.